It happens in a split second. An aunt is helping her 19-year-old niece with a laptop, and there it is, left wide open, a bank statement, and the balance is significantly higher than anyone in the family was led to believe. The fallout is explosive. The aunt immediately blows up at the teenager over lying. When the mother finds out, she echoes the anger, swiftly deploying a punishing, week-long silent treatment. Their central accusation is entirely tied to her spending. They argue that if this 19-year-old can afford non-essentials, like new tattoos or going to the club, she is obligated to afford bailing the family out of their debt. This collision exposes two deeply incompatible worldviews. The teenager is attempting to build individual financial independence, but in households trapped by long-term poverty, any single member's financial success is heavily treated as a communal asset. It leaves the teenager grappling with an agonizing question. Must a person permanently sacrifice their right to enjoy their own life simply because their family cannot escape a cycle of debt? Maintaining financial secrecy against relatives carries a profound emotional toll. It forces a young adult to actively protect their own future at the direct expense of their family's immediate approval. At 18, the protagonist moved out of her extremely poor, high-conflict household. Working a minimum-wage part-time job, she took on her own rent and car insurance, fighting for basic stability. This animated diagram charts her early progress. Despite making minimum wage, she focused intensely on putting away small amounts every single month, meticulously building toward a deposit for a house. But then the trend line plummets to zero. Her mother confessed to having completely maxed out her credit cards, creating a severe, immediate financial crisis that demanded a rescue. The teenager entirely emptied her hard-earned savings. She paid down her mother's debts and handed out loans of over $200 at a time to her aunt, money she never saw returned. Handing over a lump sum without addressing the borrower's spending habits does not cure a debt crisis. It merely transfers the financial instability from the borrower directly onto the person trying to save them. This diagram illustrates the reality of that transfer. Within months, both the mother and the aunt ended up back in the exact same state of crushing debt, quickly consuming any cash thrown their way. Recognizing the escalating danger, the grandmother stepped in with pivotal advice. She urged the teenager to rebuild the savings, but to keep them completely hidden. Setting up this invisible boundary created a massive cognitive dissonance. For 6 long months, every time her mother and aunt asked for large sums, she lied by omission, handing over tiny amounts and claiming it was all she could afford. When the savings are finally discovered, the family instinctively weaponizes guilt. They manipulate her boundary, telling her she has turned her back on the family, and framing her survival tactics as a malicious betrayal. When relatives act as a constant force of financial gravity, dragging down anyone nearby, absolute secrecy becomes the only reliable method for reaching escape velocity. The teenager is currently drowning in guilt, wondering if she is acting selfishly. But enforcing a hard limit to stop endless, unreturned loans is an act of required self-preservation. The family's week-long silent treatment is a highly predictable response. An unhealthy, enmeshed dynamic will naturally produce violent friction when someone finally introduces a firm boundary. Because of that severe friction, financial privacy becomes an economic necessity. Total transparency about your income and savings is a privilege that others must earn through mutual respect, not a default family right. This animation shows the distinct danger of an open ledger. To a relative in a debt spiral, your emergency fund looks exactly like their available credit. Treating family members as default financial partners without rigorously assessing their financial literacy is a guaranteed invitation to watch your own accounts be drained. Breaking the cycle starts with an information diet. You stop discussing income, savings, or long-term goals with family members who have proven they cannot manage their own finances. This pie chart illustrates a dedicated giving budget. It's a small monthly amount allocated as a one-way gift. You never expect a cent back. Once that specific money is gone, the bank is permanently closed. Regardless of familial emergencies, the larger private slice remains untouched. Implementing these changes carries one final psychological hurdle. You must accept your family will likely cast you as the villain for protecting yourself. Embracing that role and releasing the guilt of self-preservation is the necessary trade-off for anyone trying to build a stable life their parents never had.